Hey everybody, Scott Jansen here. Welcome to another, what will be a Therapy Maximizer student interview. Today we've got the awesome Penny with us today. Penny has a fantastic story. What we're going to be talking about today is where Penny started to actually quitting her job to now running a full-time hypnotherapy business and hiring staff within 12 months. I want to show you guys how quickly she's transitioned from being a business owner where she started to where she is now, to her growing, her scaling, and what she's doing in the business. We're going to be talking about the niche that's Penny's helping as well, and also diving into all the good stuff about how she's doing all of this. So firstly, Penny, thank you for joining us. This is really exciting.
It is exciting because it means I have arrived.
Yeah, you have arrived. That's what the interviews are for. We have arrived. So let's start from the absolute beginning. So before you even got into hypnotherapy, what were you doing in life? What was going on? And then what transitioned into learning about hypnotherapy and that sort of stuff?
Oh, yeah, that's a little bit of a wild story. I mean, I started out my career as a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
I became a nurse anesthetist, and just through a series of interesting events, I ended up putting together a pain management course for nurses, and I stumbled across the research on hypnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And the hospital also had a CHI Center for Integrative Health or Healthcare Integration. And I noticed that the patients who came to surgery who used mind-body therapies
Mm-hmm.
took less anesthesia.
Oh,
So
okay.
that stoked the curiosity. And, being a nurse, I'm a very science-minded person. And we all know the subconscious is anything but a rule follower, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I finally found an instructor who had a healthcare background for hypnosis, and I took the course
Mm-hmm.
because I was going to get continuing education credits.
Mm-hmm.
And my first instructor was Ron Esslinger. I don't know if you heard of him. A lot of people refer to him as the king of pain here in the
Okay.
US.
Okay.
And he called me up the day he demonstrated glove analgesia.
Mm-hmm.
And he clamped a surgical clamp shut on the back of my hand, and I did not feel it.
Wow. Really?
And in that moment, I
You were
knew I was meant
convinced.
to do something else.
Awesome.
So, I had a part-time practice in Connecticut,
Mm-hmm.
USA, and then through a series of life events, when that was becoming really successful just through word of mouth, I knew a lot of doctors.
Mm-hmm.
We ended up moving halfway across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And for a year and a half, I didn't have a practice. And in January 2018, I was reaching the point, it's like, what, I have to get back to this. I loved entrepreneurship. I love setting my schedule. I love working with people who actually want to get better. And so I reopened a practice, and it was very different here. I did not have those connections. I didn't have a built-in referral base.
Mm-hmm.
And 51% of Mississippi is on
Mm-hmm.
what's called Medicaid, which is a
Okay.
very, very low level healthcare service. That also means that they're getting things like food stamps, which isn't a bad thing. It
Mm-hmm.
just goes to show you the median income of the state is extremely low.
Okay.
So that impacted my ability to charge what I felt like I was worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I was becoming more frustrated with the job. And, I was just to do what one of my mentors, not that he didn't teach it this way, but it's one of the comments that they would make is you throw everything against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Well, for me in that mind, that meant I had to do everything at once. And when you've never been an entrepreneur, you don't understand. You try one thing, you
Mm-hmm.
test it, it doesn't work, you adapt, you do something else. So
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't have that mindset at all. In the hospital, I had standards, I had protocols. You give this drug for this, that drug for that. You see this, you do that.
Mm-hmm.
As an entrepreneur, well, at that point I was a practitioner. I wasn't even an entrepreneur yet.
Sure.
I was like a fish out of water, man. I was flopping all over the place.
Yeah, just throwing anything at the wall. Yeah.
It was ugly.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think we talked about that on our phone call, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. It was bad. It was bad.
Okay.
So, I started getting into some of the online space. I knew if I wanted to get ahead,
Mm-hmm.
I had to get clients outside of the state of Mississippi.
Yes.
And the way to do that was online.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a few people that I reached out to, did some sessions. They went really well.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that comes from confidence because I had practiced hypnosis long enough, covert testing and that kind of thing. I had a way of knowing where my clients were, but I still knew that there was something more, that I was missing the mindset piece, if you will. Like I didn't know how to think like an entrepreneur. And as time passed, the more I spent on ads, people responding to Google ads wanted $25 and $50 sessions and all of this crap. I grew more frustrated in my job, which made me more frustrated in my business. And then as clients built up, I had no time to do anything. I was either sleeping, working at the hospital, or seeing clients. And things just kind of came to a head where something had to give. And I was looking and I kept seeing your post. And I would watch your videos and I'm like, I can't work 18 hours a day. I can't get up at 2 a.m. and do these calls, but because I saw your video with your schedule, right? And I'm like, I have to have 10 hours of sleep a night. Shit's never going to work for me.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where you just have to do something different. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same, excuse my French, I hope this isn't G-rated, the same damn thing over and over again.
Yeah.
And expecting a different result. So that's how I ended up on the phone call.
Okay.
With you.
So before our actual phone call, like what was getting frustrating, like with the job and the business? Was it trying to juggle both together? Was it just one wasn't working, so it was infecting the next? What was happening?
In the job, I had transitioned from working in a place where I was at a hospital that it was mostly healthy people, elective surgery, to a level 1 trauma center. And so you're talking lots of gunshot wounds, stabbings, a lot of people from outlying areas who were extremely sick come here because it's the only place in the state that can take care of them. So the stress level was way up here, and it was 13-hour shifts.
Wow.
So when I went in, it was like 13 hours of it, and it's an hour and a half from my house. So that made for a 16-hour day. Now my office, yes, I still have an office. I do online sessions, but I still have an office, and it's an hour from my house, but that's how far I have to go to have great internet reception. On a beautiful sunny day, I use satellite internet at home, but if it's raining or I want to do something like this, I have to drive here. And it's just because for me, responsibility in providing a great experience is important, which is why I do that. So that was that piece. And, you know, I would just have to drive to see clients face to face down here, because at that point I was still face to face.
Okay.
So it made for an exhausting pace. Like there wasn't enough of me.
Okay. So what happened next? So you started to dive into the hypnotherapy thing. You started to treat clients. Work was getting in the way. It was all messy. What was it like? Like what happened on the day where you said to yourself, like, this is enough. It's now time to give this job up. I need to do this full time.
I already knew that I had to give the job up. I had my own personal crisis about 3 months before I reopened my practice.
Okay.
And it was evident that and I went through my own hypnotherapy process with my mentor, and it was evident that if I was going to stay in that place, I had to get that stress out of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could feel that building back up again. Plus, once you're your own boss, I mean, you set your hours, there's nobody there to jerk you around and tell you this, that, or the other thing. Once I was back in the chair, you know, here doing sessions, I was just like, I want to get out of there. I want to go. But the straw that broke the camel's back, Scott, and, you know, I'm a little bit into the woo, not like deep into the woo, but I truly believe we have to trust and let things go. But to some extent, our behaviors reflect our thoughts. That's what we do all the time, right? And I was actually made the comment to someone that I was surprised that for my little part-time hours I had, that I was fully booked that month of December. I was like, I can't imagine people are paying for hypnosis sessions right before Christmas, because people down here, I mean, that they will mortgage the barn door to buy Christmas presents for their kids. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
And then every single freaking client canceled. I had not seen a client for 6 weeks straight.
Wow.
When I started like really paying attention to your videos. And that was mid-January.
Yep.
And then clients started booking in again, and I called you because I was like, something's got to change. And that call that you and I had together, coupled with a coaching that I was in, it really reinforced to me that as uncomfortable as it was, and as much as it made me wanted to choke, given the financial, demographic around here, I doubled my rates off of that call with you. Because I had to have more time to do what I needed to do to build the business. So I had to make the same amount of money with less clients. And believe it or not, yes, I saw less clients, but I made more money. And I didn't make a huge jump then, but it was significant.
It's enough to get a real sign that this is the way to do it.
And it pushed the limits.
Yeah.
For people around here. Like I had a lot of people, and you charge what? And I'm like,
it's what it is.
It's what it is. And it took just a lot of nerve. I'm watching my language. It took a lot of nerve to say, I'm sorry, that's my rates.
Yeah.
But I had to draw the line in the sand, because when you get wishy-washy and you're not sure, you're trying to guess the client, and then you may be undercutting yourself at every turn.
Yeah. You have to have a business. It's got to run. The economics have to equal the amount of time and effort you're putting in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and
go ahead.
No, that's part of becoming the entrepreneur as opposed to the practitioner.
Yeah. You have to wear both hats. You have to learn. Sure, we can be great coaches and therapists, but if you're not taught to be an entrepreneur and expect these crazy, chaotic things to happen in a business, you'll just crawl, fall on the ground, crawl into a little ball and just think, this is way too hard. I just want to be a coach and a therapist, but you can't be one without the other. So just before we jumped in our strategy call, you were watching just some stuff that I'd done on like Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that, correct?
Just Facebook.
Okay.
I didn't go on YouTube. You came across on Facebook because you had friended me.
Yep. Now you know how I did that and why I did that.
Yep.
Excellent. So we did our strategy call. What were you hoping to get out of the strategy call?
I was hoping that your product didn't cost over $10,000. I was prepared to pay 10 grand.
Wow.
If you could show me how to catapult my practice the way it needed to go. And when you told me how much, I was like, where's the damn credit card?
Let's book in quickly. Yeah. So we had our strategy call. You got all the questions answered. I gave you the offer and the price. You dived into the program, knowing what you already knew about running a practice and having a mentor in the business and stuff like that, and knowing you come from a very systems-oriented background in nursing. Obviously, when we dive into the program, the first thing we talk about is systems and protocol and steps. What was that like for you to hear that in an entrepreneurial program?
It was nice because the advanced hypnosis training I took that moved my business forward is systematic. Like it's criteria based. And this is the same freaking thing. It's like, just tell me what I need to know so I can do it. I'll admit it took me like a month to clean up my Facebook. That was seriously bad, but that was the best thing that I did. It truly was cleaning all of that up. But I mean, it's laid out step by step and you build upon it layer by layer. And the systems piece of it, I never really got much out of direct outreach. And if you want to talk about that later, we can. But it was the systems piece that if I had not followed through and had those things in place, if I had waited for my success to implement the system, I would have been crushed. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now.
Yeah, it would have just crumbled around you. Too much chaos, too much inputs coming in and no support to handle it.
Yeah. And, the more I stay in the realm that I'm in, because my niche is entrepreneurs, the more I stay in the realm I'm in, and I watch what happens, is this whole mentality of I'll invest when I get there is a strategy set for failure, because you're going to collapse.
Yep. That's what people are going for. That's the first thing, you know, even on our program, people go, Scott, just tell me how to get clients. I can't get you to get clients until we build a system that'll support it, because what happens, like in your case, you went from 0 to too many clients, like too much happening. And if it wasn't for the support, like building the infrastructure of the business and the systems, it would have collapsed and you would have been in exactly the same place, but worse off, because you missed out on all these great opportunities of clients wanting to pay you.
Exactly. And they were wanting to throw their money at me.
So let's talk about this. This is really interesting. You went from charging, like clients questioning your rates. You went through that whole mentality, and I get it. It goes in our head like, Scott, I can't even get a $50 client, and you're saying charge $1,000. How the hell is that possible? How did you make the transition? What did you have to do to realize, okay, it's a lot, but that's what I need? What did you have to do for that?
In terms of mentally?
Yeah, for yourself. Yeah.
I just had to decide. It was scary. And, you know, our fear is there to protect us. But when you're in business, we're surrounded by uncertainty. Like you're constantly having that. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and to know when it's a valid fear and when it's just like some bullshit you're in your head and you need to get out of your head, right? So I just raised the rates to $275. I mean, I choked, but I did it. And when people would call about my package price, I would just kind of lay it out there. This is how I work, and, like, well, I just want to come in and try it. Can you? Nope. And I got really used to and comfortable saying no. It's the most powerful word that we have. And so I did end up, seeing less clients. I disabled my Google ads. In the end, that was the biggest waste of money I ever did.
Yep.
And when I disabled the Google ads, the $25 and $50 and $100 phone calls stopped. I advertised in a local high-end magazine. So I did that, and I began to get a couple of online clients. And the way that came about, you just never know where your connections are going to come from. Everything that we need to be doing, even if it's friending people on Facebook and the videos like you talk about, it's about building relationships.
Yes.
And so this is before I got your program, I had purchased a program on creating, get this, thought reversal videos. And I still haven't finished it yet because I've been so damn busy. But as a part of that, I got a bonus. And I was on a call with this person. We were chatting, and this is the person that ran the coaching program I was in. It's like, oh, you're a hypnotist, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's like, oh, I might mention you. I don't refer anybody in the group, but I might mention you as an option to somebody who needs to see a hypnotist. If they reach out to you, please have them give me feedback so I know what kind of work you do. And so, it started with maybe a half a dozen clients over a 3-month period. And then one day it was like somebody piped up and had an issue, and it was like, oh, check out Penny. A great hypnotherapist can take care of this in one session. And I was like,
talk about pressure.
Mother of God, help me. So at this point, I had the Zoom was set up, and I had the strategy call link in place. I had all of that stuff in place. So I sent them that link, and they signed up, and we did the strategy call. And I took that opportunity because I knew the person was already ready, because this individual put their status behind me, which elevated my status. And I don't know if you ever talk about that in the program, because I'm going back through it again now. But So I took that opportunity to do some pre-talk stuff work then. And an hour and 58 minutes, that's how long the session was. We eliminated 30 years of waking up feeling what this individual described as anxiety. And I want to emphasize described as anxiety. It was not a clinical diagnosis. It was not something we needed referral for. It was just waking up antsy every morning. And a spontaneous Facebook Live in that closed group. I don't have access to it for confidentiality reasons, but a spontaneous Facebook Live in that group, and everything changed like that. And I got 31 strategy calls.
Wow.
From that one video, and then the attention that was subsequently called to it by the person who leads that coaching program. And so when people just started Facebook messaging me like mad, I could just send them the booking link. I would have gone mad trying to schedule all those people in myself.
Yeah, such a simple thing, but it just automates everything beautifully.
It does. It's like the first step.
Yep.
You just have to trust it's coming. And you've already done everybody's work for them. Like before I came across your program, I had already had to do the research and the digging for a scheduler. How do I set it up? You have it all laid out for anybody.
Press go.
Do this, do that. Boom, you're ready to go.
Yeah. So how did you go with your prices? Because like you said, you raised your price. What was it before, and what did you start to charge these people that were interested in what you did?
All right. So I was doing $275 for 90 minutes. When I realized how rapidly people were wanting their change, I'm like, okay, I need to go to 2 hours. So I went to $375 for 2 hours. And then in less than 30 days, I was at $400 an hour.
Beautiful.
I mean, I just couldn't as the demand increased, because once I got these people booked in, I did 31 strategy calls in the month of August. Wow. I was only able to see 2 clients the whole month because I had strategy calls everywhere else. And so I canceled my hypnosis training in September. Like I had some people were kind of like, yeah, I think I'm coming. I'm not coming. I'm like, nope.
Gone. Yeah.
Because I had to take that 2 weeks as vacation from the hospital to catch up on clients. I was fully booked through the end of October. And in September, people are calling for strategy calls. And I'm like, I had people supporting me too. Like I was going to raise my rates, and I had somebody messaging me, a friend who is a $500 an hour coach. She does boutique coaching. And I'm like sitting on the computer one day. It was like a group coaching call, but I wasn't paying attention to the coaching call because I was on the phone with my writing coach. So the volume was down, and my Facebook Messenger starts going off like crazy. It's like, raise your rates, raise your rates, raise your rates. And I'm like, what the F is going on? And then I find all these requests for connection information because somebody had mentioned me, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to love her. You're going to love her. You're going to love her. And I was like, whatever. So here's the kicker. I was in the middle of getting ready to launch this #1 international bestseller.
Beautiful.
You know what? Don't promote it.
I need to.
That's not my niche anymore.
Beautiful.
That call, I found my new niche. And I think that's huge. I see that in the group all the time. People asking about niche. And you know what? When you find something and you have success and you start getting that referral off of it, just pivot.
Yep.
Don't hold on like this to something when there's something else over here that's just saying, come to me.
Yep.
I want you. Come to me.
Yeah. When the market's telling you what they want, you let go of what you want and you abide by what they want from you.
Exactly. And I still get to do what I love. See, that's the thing. You know?
So, I mean, you look at it now, doing $400, you're doing it for like an overall transformation, the results. And this is what we can't replicate this. Like, we can't sort of teach everybody to go, okay, if you do one great session with one person, that's going to turn into multiple strategy calls. You can't replicate that.
You can't.
However, what you did so well is what you needed in your business was different to every other person that joins our program. And that's what's interesting, where you had clients coming in. It was more just, it wasn't reshaping everything you did. It was just changing certain elements to fit better and work together properly, like the booking system. The niche definitely was a big thing, your price. And just from those little tweaks, look what's happened. But everyone has to realize, I want everybody to realize, listening to Penny's story, this is not common. This is, this doesn't happen all the time. But even though when Penny's here and she had clients coming in, maintaining this movement is sometimes harder than actually starting, because you can't give up. You can't take the foot off the pedal. Otherwise you'll just lose all that momentum.
Yeah, you can't take the foot off the pedal. And I had my first multi-5-figure month,
Beautiful.
September going into October.
Mm-hmm.
And what I recognized was I couldn't maintain that momentum because, my prices had been in transition, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the month of October, I was seeing 12 to 15 clients a week.
Wow.
At 2 hours a pop, plus working the job at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That was what was on my books. And, I was like, I can't maintain this. I can't sustain it. So the rates had gone up. I knew that going into November, my rates were going to be higher. I was going backing off on clients. And I walked into my husband, and when the day that I raised my rates to $4,000 a package, and I put the piece of the resignation letter in front of him, I'm like, I'm turning in my notice tomorrow. He goes, wow, already for January? I'm like, no, for 2 weeks. And he just looked at me. I said, trust me, if I don't have the time to commit, I can't maintain this. And that's the thing is, all of this came from one referral source. You can't count on that.
Exactly. It's a bonus.
Right. So that was a bonus. That gave me the opportunity. That was my exit strategy. And then it's my job to capitalize on that, to keep it moving forward, which is why I've been watching the videos on the YouTube strategy, starting to do more video on Facebook. My VA is going to work on getting those up on YouTube. And she's doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff so that I can focus on creating these videos. And seeing clients. And I already do a workshop, self-hypnosis workshop, but I had a session with a client today that she's like, oh, it's not a really big issue. I really want to eliminate this. But the real reason I'm here seeing you is I have clients I want to refer to you, and I want to experience you first before I put my name behind you. So that's where the relationship building comes in.
Yep, 100% agree.
Now I have like 3 other sources that are beginning to slowly send me referrals.
Yeah. And that's the constant action taking. Like, people may look at you and go, oh, I wish it was as easy to build my business as it is Penny's. But now you're at the hardest part. How do you maintain? Yeah, you've got to maintain this. Exactly. That's what they're going to say. Let's do the easy thing. Yeah. It's another level of entrepreneurship to capitalize on what's working, but also, like you said, realize that could go away in a second and not rely on it. Just use it as a bonus, as momentum.
Exactly. That was the catalyst for becoming what I need to become in this space. And, when you think about it, it's like I sit back now and I look at people who aren't entrepreneurs and the way, and even other hypnotists and therapists, and they talk about the way they price themselves. And I'm like, but, you got to think about the time you're not face to face with the client. You're not getting paid for that time. And I mean, I spent 15 minutes today going through notes so that I could pick up with my client where we left off and not have to ask redundant questions and like, okay, what should I ask today to like kind of zero in and let's get on the horse and take off, so to speak. And, it's been a huge transition for me. And to go from that, I'm still probably putting in, I only do 5 client sessions a week. I have the workshop every week, but I'm still putting in between 30 and 40 hours a week. Easy. And if there's something coming up I want to work on, like if I hit a moment in my mind where like something's coming to me and I feel like I need to act on it now, if it's a Saturday, a Sunday,
get it done.
I do it while it's on my mind. I get it done.
Yeah.
So
What was the catalyst for you to hire a VA? I always love when I hear from you guys saying, well, I've hired my first staff. Why did you need to do that in your situation?
I spent $7,000 on a business intensive with someone who exclusively works with boutique business and making these network connections. And the first thing she told me, she's like, what does your day look like? And emails were killing me. She said, I want you to make a list of 10 things that you don't like. If you could get them off your plate right now, you would just be happier. And emails was one of them. And I didn't think I was ready. And she just pushed me. She's like, you got to do it. You got to do it. And I put it off for about a month. And I sat there and I realized that, like, in between clients, I would go to answer one email and then I would be down a rabbit hole. And something that I was planning to do, an outline for a video or something, it just got lost in the emails. So I sat down, I thought about what I needed to do. I have an email service provider because I have a list, and, you know, I don't like having to deal with that and a few other things. And I thought, okay, well, if I could get rid of this stuff, it would be nice. And I just happened to have a connection. She goes, oh, I have a great person. She can do all of that and more. Come to find out, she's a certified online business manager on top of everything else. And she is actually, I don't have to teach her how to do the YouTube strategy. I don't have to teach her how to do all the social media stuff, because the way she does it isn't as aggressive as the way that you teach it. And once we get settled in, I'm going to move her into that more aggressive pace of scheduling the videos. But what she's done right now is, while we're building out more systems, more of a platform for this higher level client I'm serving, which, just so the audience knows, it's all multi-6 and 7-figure entrepreneurs. There's a whole other level of expectation that I have to meet.
Yeah.
So if she builds that out in the background, she's basically taking old content that I have and she's repurposing it for me. I'm not having to do it. She does that for me. She's watched some of my videos, learned my language, and she's taking care of that. But she reached out to me the other day. She goes, you need to be in front of this organization. You need to be at their teaching events. You need to be speaking. And I'm like, okay. She goes, I need you to write this out and get it to me. I'm going to send it to the 12 leaders chairs in the Southeast. I have no idea what in the hell I'm getting into, but she's telling me it's going to work. So I'm like, hey, go for it. But
go for
it. I get so much done just by not being in that mailbox.
Yeah.
I can't even describe it. It's a time suck. When I first started your program, one of the most valuable tools I learned about was the Chrome extension called Kill My Newsfeed.
Yeah, that saves a lot of businesses. Yeah.
Well, it does, because then when you're in there and you're checking messages, you're not going down the rabbit hole of stuff that distracts you.
That's why it's in there, yeah, to capitalize on your time. So moving forward, business is doing well. You're doing the multiple 5-figure months. So have you substituted what you were earning as a nurse now with this business?
I'm making more.
Isn't that nice?
I mean, I'm not necessarily bringing home more because I'm reinvesting some back in the business, but my gross will outpace my anesthesia salary by $100,000.
Wow. What's the husband think?
Oh, I've been the sugar mama for several years. He's ecstatic.
Yeah, I bet he is.
As long as I'm happy and things get taken care of, he doesn't care.
Yeah. And I mean, when you think about it, money is awesome, but think about your own well-being as well. Have you changed as a person? Do you find like your health and your moods are better now that you're away from that sort of toxic environment?
I don't have nearly as much stress.
Good.
And I have so much more time for me to do what I want. I think I'm probably spending a little bit too much time catching up on past seasons of TV episodes, because for a long time I didn't watch that much TV.
Yeah.
But just a little tidbit, I'm a beekeeper. And I was so busy last year that from June up until now, I haven't checked on my bees.
Okay.
And this year I'll have plenty of time to check on my bees.
Wow. Life of an entrepreneur. Isn't that nice? So looking at your business and the systems and what you're doing, what do you think's been like some of the most valuable things you've done? Because there's going to be people watching the story who are looking for that transition. What are the main things you look at now and say, oh my God, thank God I did that bit there? What would those be for you?
It was a few. One is having the system in place.
Mm-hmm.
Two is knowing what to do on that strategy call.
Mm.
You got to know how to close a call. You got to be comfortable asking for the sale,
Mm-hmm.
and be okay with the no, and to be okay telling somebody no.
Yeah.
And the other piece is visibility.
Mm.
Visibility.
Yep.
You've got to be out there. If people don't know who you are, they're not going to reach out to you, and leverage those connections.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's I got this from you. Video testimonials.
Yeah. Let's talk about that, because that was a big one for you. What happened with your video testimonial?
So I mean, there was the one in that group, right, which I didn't get to download, but 3 weeks after that, the individual who runs that coaching program also does private one-on-one coaching. Mm-hmm. And to do private one-on-one coaching with this individual, you have to make at least 7 figures. Mm-hmm. And his fee is $2,000 an hour. Mm-hmm. So this individual made a referral, and her testimonial is actually on my website. It's Catherine Zenkina. She runs the Manifestation Babe brand. Mm-hmm. So, and that has led to other referrals. So, you know, when you're in the online space and these people all know each other, they kind of run in the same circle. That's kind of a big deal. So
it is a very big deal. Yeah.
People like to hear it right out of the horse's mouth.
I mean, if you look at what you're doing and the amount of money that you're bringing in and the time and the reinvestment back in your business, this is only within 12 months.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. I did 90,000 between September and December 31st.
Beautiful.
Yeah. You want to know how much I did in the first 8 months of the year?
Definitely.
Not even 40. Not even 30. I think I was 117,000 last year, and 90 of it.
Yeah. What do you think
was in the last 4 months?
What made that shift for you? What exactly, if you could pinpoint it, what was it? How do you go from that to 90,000 in 3 months?
I had the system in place.
What do you mean?
The strategy call system.
Mm-hmm.
I never would have even been able to keep up with that, and I would have looked unprofessional, unprepared, because here I am, I get this result for this client, and if I hadn't had that system in place, I would have looked amateur. Mm-hmm. Because all of these people have booking systems in place. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at higher level coaches, they all have them.
Yeah, they have systems. You know, that's why we teach it.
They have systems. Yeah.
Yeah. The strategy call is so important because we can stabilize that. You can take control of that. For a lot of people, if people are going to your website, imagine someone going to your website right now, didn't know you, and saw $4,000 for a package. They're going to go, okay, well, maybe I don't need to give up this problem that much. But on the strategy call, you can diagnose their problem. You can present your offer with stability. You can control what you say. You can control the objections. And you can also put your client in the right place where they see the future value of what you do. Rather than, hey, I want to book you in. Okay, I'm $4,000. Oh, okay, I'll get back to you. I'll go ask my husband. You never hear from them again.
Right. And the other thing is, in my basic hypnosis training, and then even in the advanced piece that I did, frame control was something I didn't learn until I was in this coaching program with this coach, because the individual's a former sales psychology person, and we got access to that program, and there were short videos in there on frame control. I used that on my mother when she got sick. Don't tell her.
Yes. All frame control. And again, that's what the strategy call allows you to do. It allows you to set the frame and almost tease out the answer that you need to hear so you can progress to the next stage. That's why it's all in stages. So, I mean, without that strategy call script or the strategy, there's no way in the world you would have been able to gross what you've grossed, because it would have just been, like you said, throwing stuff at the wall and hoping something sticks. You can't run a business off of that.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we're uncomfortable with silence because we naturally talk, and we can end up saying too much.
Yeah. Yep. Overcooking the egg, so to speak.
Yeah, I love to talk. So, what
That's
can
why
I
I say to you guys,
say?
you might have to put the phone on mute. If you want to talk, put it on mute so you can just talk to yourself. So moving forward, what are we in now? We're in February 2020. What's the goals for the remainder of the year? What things have you set? What are the standards you're trying to reach? What are you trying to complete by the end of this year?
Okay, my goal is to have 3 more of my hypnosis workshops. I do them live because of the way that it's set up, but there's also a membership area, give added value. That is priced at $14.97 per person, with the limit of 40 people in the group. Most people are charging $600 for that same workshop, but I'm beefing it up. I'm filling it. I'm adding the value without adding more of me, because it's in videos where they can go, and then when we're on the calls, they can just ask questions, and then we do what we do.
Yeah.
I've got another training workshop at the end of next year, at the end of October, I think. But my goal this year is to make sure I have solid foundations. One of the things being in this world now, I've picked up this thing of like having the word of the year. And my word has been intentional. In everything that I do, I'm intentional about what I do. Before I do it, I know what I want the outcome of it to be. So that makes a difference when you're, at least for me, when I've been intentional about every Facebook post, every comment. You talk about the call to action. That's being intentional about that video. Like you do something, what is the purpose that you're doing it for? So by the end of the year, I want a solid foundation in place. I want to maintain the revenue that I'm at now through the year, so that next year I can jump off and take it to the next level. Before the end of the year, I would like to have another hypnotist trained, so that I can have somebody else on my team doing online sessions as well. But
Beautiful.
Foundations first, and we're gonna get to that. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, so building out the systems, solidifying everything, keeping everything running smoothly, machining everything. I mean, that's the recipe for a winner. That's how you get predictable outcomes, like in your revenue and things like that. Yeah. What is the revenue goal for the year?
My revenue goal for the year is over 300,000.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I like the way you say that. It's just straight faced. Yep, it's going to happen.
Over 300,000. Yeah.
Beautiful.
It is going to happen. The thing is, you got to let go of fear. If you're going to take the action and you don't get stuck in this place of, oh crap, what I'm doing is not working, I just got to keep doing the same thing harder. Like if you can adapt and adjust and honestly self-reflect and keep moving forward, then you can just kind of let go of that fear and trust that it's going to happen.
Yeah. What do you say, like, people are going to watch this and go, $300,000 for a hypnotherapist? You've got to be kidding me, because you know the state of the industry the way it is. What do you think is different in what you're doing? How do you see the industry? Like, what would you say to these people? Because it's an important message, I think.
What I would say to these people is there is someone at every level of income that needs what you have. I am not lying to you when I say I've had a multi-7-figure person who felt trapped in their business decisions because when they were 5 years old, they accidentally got locked in a bathroom.
Wow.
They have the same problems that, what do you call him, Joe Blogs?
Yeah, Joe Blogs.
does down the street. It just manifests in different ways. It may not be that they're smoking or having a drinking issue, but I mean, people at all levels have an issue. And if you can show them the value, number one, they're going to pay you. And number two, if you're underpriced, they're not going to believe you can deliver what you say you can deliver. And I know that sounds crazy, but this whole notion of everybody has to be able to afford me, social worker mentality. There's nothing wrong with social workers. I love social workers. It's charity mentality. That's what I meant to say. This charity mentality. I mean, you will destroy yourself trying to help uh, other people. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with serving people at other levels if that's what your goal is and that's what you're content with. But if you're looking to be more, to do more, and you want to break that 6-figure threshold and multi-6-figure threshold, then you better start thinking like people who've already broken that threshold.
Yeah. And that was actually a great point I wanted to, you mentioned that just before. There's no way in the world you could serve, and we have in our program multi-6-figure, multi-7-figure coaches in our program as well. But they're a different person to speak to. In order for them to get to that stage, they had to think, they had to act, they had to be like that. So for a lot of coaches and therapists, you probably see this as well. They say, Scott, I want to help entrepreneurs overcome their fear. And I go, great. But they don't do Facebook Lives. They're too scared to do outreach to people, too scared to raise a price. So you become the very reflection of the type of client that you're going to help. And you wonder why it's not going to help. You have to be that person first. I mean, it was the same for you implementing the systems to get confident in saying, I'm not this price, I'm this price. And if you can't afford it, I can't really help you. You'll have to find somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing, and I give this advice to people and they're like, yeah, but you do this.
Yeah.
Now that I've had success, it's not that people don't put me down.
Mm-hmm.
But people, it's like I'm a unicorn. And that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
I try to be the cheerleader. If I can do this and this is what you want, you can do it too. And it's like, I can't do that. And, but I think the fatal flaw that I see, and I learned this, I first heard it in that coaching program, but you're the one that taught it to me because it was a passing comment there. And it was two things. Number one is that if you're not in sales and marketing, you're not in business. And number two is that people aren't buying your bloody hypnosis or coaching. They're buying the end result.
Yeah.
And that was a game changer. That whole shift in perspective and changing of languaging on the website and stuff. It's like I did a post on Facebook the other day, and it was actually a post I was doing to share an affiliate link. It wasn't even about myself. It was a post about failure. And like, I got so damn many comments on that. I was like, somebody's trying to tell me something. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to take that video. I'm going to break it down. I'm going to say, okay, where can I create more content around this? Thank you, Scott Jansen.
That's the asymmetry we talk about. Finding your asymmetry. So why do you think that is? Why do you think, this is an interesting topic, why do you think there's such a disconnect or such a, for lack of better words, let's call it hatred or jealousy? Like for a lot of coaches and therapists, they're looking at people like yourself that are creating these big businesses. And also realize this, guys, when you're hearing this, you better believe Penny's putting in multiple hours per day, 7 days a week. This didn't just happen overnight. But why do you think like there's such a divide between, the people that are struggling and look up to people like you and go, oh, you're different, your circumstance is different, I can't do what you do. Where do you think that attitude is coming from?
I think it comes from two places. One place is that people believe that if they're serving to help others heal, they shouldn't charge.
Big one.
I see that huge, that it's not fair to charge people who need me.
Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah. And the other one is that they're holding on so tight to the clients that they have that there's this fear that when they raise their rates, they're going to lose some clients. But that's the whole idea. You raise your rates so that you see fewer people, so that you can take this other time to continue to work on your business. If you're in your business, you can't work on your business.
Exactly.
Unless you're going to go 16, 18 hours a day. I can't do that. Penny has to have her beauty rest. She's a bitch.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's the 80-20 rule. 80% of your time on growth, business, systems, analyzing, changing, iterating, oscillating parts of the business, with 20% on the actual clientele. But like you said, you make money on the strategy call, which is part of the system, the growth, the 80%. You don't make the money when the client's sitting in front of you.
Yeah. And I noticed in the group today, somebody had posted about charging for the strategy call.
Yes.
But that's the thing. When you have the system in place and you're charging enough, then, you know, that strategy, that's just part of the cost of doing business.
Exactly. It's inclusive, not exclusive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So looking where you are now, I mean, 12 months, it blows my mind. I mean, the chats that we've had and the testimonials I've seen, you like, I even sit back and go, man, that's just crazy. Like, that's unheard of. So people watching this is going to be a big eye opener. And I want you to look at this as motivation, because when I first talked to Penny, it was chaotic. There was no systems. She was all over the place, just like you guys are. But she put in the work. She followed the system. I don't think there was ever a time where you had messaged me and saying, Scott, I'm freaking out. I did my first thing. It didn't work. What do I do? It was just, okay, it didn't work. Get feedback and keep iterating and oscillating and moving forward. Now, something I didn't touch on, you said before with that, I think it's important, part of the strategy that we teach, and just one part is the organic outreach. Now, what happened with you, especially with your market, this is all dependent on the type of niche, whether they accept the organic outreach. That's why we don't rely on it. You had a hell of a time. What happened when you started to do that?
So my first niche was fibromyalgia. One, because I love working with pain. Two, I love working with women, and that's the majority of the group. And three, there's an emotional component to it. And that's the work. It kind of rolled everything together, this nice, neat package. Doesn't it sound perfect? 30 million people have it. There's got to be, you know,
Got to be clients in there somewhere. Yeah.
So the first thing I found is that when you go into a group that is support focused around a problem, there's a lot of victim mentality. The people who don't have victim mentality rarely go back into the group because they don't want to be in the middle of it. So I started posting in other groups where there were professionals, either healthcare professionals or business professionals, some stuff. And like, hey, does anybody here have fibromyalgia? Like, I want to touch base. And probably 1 out of 10 people actually followed up on their interview. And the ones who did, even though they were educated and they were professionals, there is such a stigma around fibromyalgia that the distrust is through the roof. And one lady told me, she said, look, it took my husband and his functional chiropractor 12 months to get me on board. Wow. Because everybody tries to throw something at you, and you've been told so many times either you're crazy or it doesn't work. You believe that people are just trying to get money out of you. So that was when I began to write the book. I thought credibility, and I thought that would be the way. And I was making some connections, doing a handful of sessions here and there, you know, related to fibromyalgia. But that's why when I got the testimonial and it was evident that people who were having blocks that were holding them back in business, these underlying beliefs that, you know, I can't charge for money, I have to work hard, whatever it may be, not to minimize what they're saying. I'm just like, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Too much caffeine at this point. But that was like, you know what? I'm like, this is easy. I have social proof here. Social proof, the drug of choice.
Yes.
Other than caffeine. And I just pivoted. I mean, I went ahead and paid. I published the book. I mean, it was all in, but the editing. And when it launched, I pushed it, because once you have #1 international bestseller behind your name, nobody can take it away. But since then, I mean, it's out there. If people need it, they can read it. It's helpful to them. I have a couple of free downloads they can get from the website, but beyond that, it's a dead end road.
What did that teach you about the niche? Because I think like pinpointing what's going on in your business, I think your transition from doing okay to 300 grand a year was this niche switch, this small pivot. What did that teach you about niching?
Well, what it taught me is that when you're in that space and you can speak the language, when people know that you understand. See, I didn't have fibromyalgia. People would reach out to me and say, oh, do you have fibromyalgia? Like they thought I was, you know, doing hypnosis for fibromyalgia or writing the book because I had it. When they found out I didn't have it, they didn't want to hear about it. You know, in this other niche, people know I'm also in this space growing, and I can speak the language that they speak, and I'm actually going to be changing my niche statement. It's going to be evolving, and it's going to include a key word that I've heard several times from people now that I never would have connected to my niche as it's changing, and that's the word handbrake.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Wow.
Handbrake. I had a handbrake in my 79 Spitfire.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what is this? But that is the language that they're using. It's not that I'm blocked. It's not that I'm procrastinating. There's a handbrake.
Okay. Interesting. So, I mean, look at this. You're succeeding. You've grown the business to this, but it's equally important to realize that you're still changing things. You're still moving things and shuffling things. A lot of people get that misconception like, wow, I just made 7 figures. I'm just going to sit back, relax, and just coast. This is time, Penny. Like, you realize this, that if you're working hard before, it's about to get a whole lot harder as you grow and your income grows. Was that a big realization for you that you can't stop? It's got to keep going.
I think I didn't realize it would happen so quickly. I just rebuilt and rebranded a website in December, and I'm sitting here thinking, shit, I got to redo all the copy on my website again.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's really only a 2-page website. It's not anything hugely fancy, but as your niche evolves, you have to evolve all of that with it. So you've got to think about if you're going to invest your time in putting together a lot of moving parts that are specific to your niche, when you adapt that niche, all those things have to be adapted with it. So in some cases, this is a valuable lesson I learned last year. In certain aspects, what's most general is what's most specific. So be careful where you use the language of your niche and what you're doing so that you can easily repurpose what you have.
Love it. Yeah. And that's just, I mean, that's the asymmetry again. You can change just one little part of the business and it either goes positive or it goes negative. So you've got to learn to analyze and push the right buttons and change things. And that only becomes through what you're doing now, which is just reflection on what's working, adding new systems. You've got the staff coming in, you've got growth, but you're still heading in the same direction. You're not allowing distraction and multiple niches, multiple packages and prices. You know who you're serving. You know the price. You're confident in selling. For most people, they hate selling. And like you said, unfortunately, if you can't sell, you're not going to make money. But you can see how crystal clear your focus is.
I hated it too. I had to learn to like it. I had to learn to like it. All I can, I just want to say to whoever is watching this in the program, thinking about the program, whether you choose to purchase, you don't choose to purchase, there are a few things that aren't going to change. Number 1, you got to take action and get visible. Number 2, you got to get comfortable with the sale. And number 3, if you want success, you've got to have systems. And if you don't have systems, you're not going to make it. And because you can grow too fast.
Yeah. And I've seen it before. I've seen people go from 0 to 6 and 7 figures within 12 months. And then the next year you go, look at them, they're out. They're unemployed. There's no business. Why? Because it crumbled. There's no systems. There's no infrastructure. So a lot of that building where you are now, if you're doing 300,000 a year, Penny, when you start hitting 6 and 9 and $1 million in revenue, wait till you see what your infrastructure looks like then. It gets so chaotic, but at the same time, it's what allows you to take those big leaps. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I get palpitations when I think about, what emails is Amber taking care of that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But I don't let myself go in and double check her. Like I've seen the evidence of her follow through.
Yeah.
You can go crazy trying to micromanage, or so I've heard. I haven't done it, but I've heard other people talk about that can be a fatal flaw.
Yeah. You've got to have a lot of trust in those systems. Like we have in our business webinars that I have a lot of trust in that those webinars are going to do the right things, but they're not even a human being. That's a thing.
Yeah.
And just like we've got staff as well, you've got to put a lot of trust in your staff to say, this is the job, get it done. I'll stand back it's your job now. And that takes, again, that's growth. And that's why you're able to hit those massive revenue parts, because there's trust in what you do. There's trust. You're beyond trust in your own process. You know this thing back to front.
Yeah.
But now it's leaching that out.
You're still responsible for the outcome, though. That's the thing. If you outsource something to somebody and they don't do it correctly, you're still responsible for that. So it's, so you don't get into too much control, but yet you have to follow through. And in terms of the workshop and the content building and all of these things and the speaking engagements I'm probably going to be stepping into, we're actually going to be getting away from a booking calendar, and people are going to be reaching out to Amber directly.
Beautiful.
And she will know my schedule, and she is going to make sure that I have the time that I need to do what I need to do to grow the business without getting interrupted.
Lovely. Did you ever think, like 12 months ago, before you even started the program, did you ever think we'd be having this conversation? Staff, revenue, money, systems?
Not on this level.
So
not on this level. No, because the direct outreach, when I recognized that wasn't going to be something that would be fruitful for me. And I was just like, you know what, I'll just take the other route. I'll write this book. It'll be a slower pace. And no, I didn't think it would be here. I thought there would be a lot more moving parts. And talking about the webinar, I actually have a very low entry point product that I've put together that I'm going to end up evergreening on a webinar to get people to be used to me and then upsell the workshop. And then one-to-one is going to be top tier. I'm probably going to blow some people away with what I'm about to say, but as my niche is evolving, by the end of the year, if things progress steadily as I'm envisioning them to progress, I will be raising my one-to-one price point to $10,000 a package.
Beautiful.
That's my endpoint goal come December 31st.
Yep. I see it happening.
If you want to work with me, it's going to cost you. You want to work in the group? Yeah, that's, and it sounds arrogant, but I can serve more people that way in the end. And that's what it's about. People get hung up on service. You're charging. Well, you can serve people without giving up all your one-to-one energy.
Yeah. You've transitioned from selling hypnosis and coaching to selling the outcome. That's how we can demand a higher price. And that's all in here. That's just understanding that shift. So what would you say to people, for the last question, what would you say to people who were like where you were 12 months ago, that are still like struggling with the, $100 sessions, can't get clients, don't want to do social media, don't want to do outreach, don't want to be seen. I just hope clients will come to see me. I'll just get more certifications. How do
You're not business.
Yeah.
Pick one thing and begin to push yourself out of your comfort zone. Whether it's raise your rates or the Facebook Lives, pick one thing and consistently push yourself out of your comfort zone. No, I did not do cold showers at 4 a.m., but I understand the concept. It's the same thing. You can get your brain used to pushing out of your comfort zone and build upon it. And if you find that you are so blocked you can't do that, find your own hypnotherapist.
Yeah, reach out, get some help.
Reach out and get some help, because we can all do this. I mean, think about it. Doctors charge $200 for 15 minutes here in the U.S. It's like $179, $200 for 15 minutes. It comes out to $800 an hour. And there are far less hypnotists in the world than there are doctors. And there are people who need us. But, if it's just uncertainty of the steps that you need to take, invest in the program. I will tell you the cost of therapy maximizer, just having the strategy call booking system in place. I paid for that. I can't do the math. 3,000. I'm doing the math in my head on my sessions. Anyway, it was more 3,000 times over. I paid for it. 3,000 times over. I paid for the cost of the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right.
Yeah. So like, had you not invested, what then?
I don't know where I would be had I not invested. Probably not, definitely not away from that job.
I can guarantee it.
And definitely not 90,000 in the last 5 months of last year, because I couldn't have kept up, and I would have lost clients. I would have lost status.
Yep.
And people wouldn't have taken me serious.
Yeah. And it starts to go backwards when, let's say you're charging $100 just for easy maths, and we got some context. When that doesn't work, what does the mind think? I'll charge less. I'll give more and charge less. More of my time, charge less. Because logically that makes sense. But what we've ingrained in you and what you've done so well is you've thought, no, that doesn't match the economics to survive. I have to charge more, but I have to provide more valuable as far as the price, but not give as much as me. So there's elements of time, context, all of that. And that only comes through understanding systems.
Yep. And how much better are you showing up for your client when you're well rested and you haven't been seeing clients back to back to back?
Yeah.
I mean, I told my VI, I'm like, she's like, oh, how many clients do you want to see in a day? Do you want them all on one day? I'm like, nope, no more than 2 a day. If I have a podcast or an interview, no client afterward. Like I need mental space.
Yep.
There are certain things that just kind of take it out of you. Like this has been an energizing conversation, but some things take the energy out of you. And
that's clients. Yeah, I agree with you. So for anyone that's watching this and they feel like, wow, I could actually use Penny's help, how can these people get in touch with you? We'll obviously leave your links, whatever you have, in the comment box below, but how can people reach out to you, and what type of client is your ideal client? Who are you looking to work with?
My ideal client is a multi-six-figure entrepreneur who is just stumbling over the procrastination, the distractions, and the paralysis in their business. We eliminate that so that they can recognize their ultimate success, break through to the next level.
Excellent. Yeah. And how can these multiple six-figure entrepreneurs, how can they get in contact with you?
So they can follow me on Facebook, Penny Chason, and hit me up through Messenger, or my website is pennychason.com.
It's that easy. Well done.
It's that easy.
A big congratulations what you've done in 12 months. I don't see it as a unicorn. I just know how much, excuse my language, fucking work you have done. It's just input, process, output. That's it. So thank you so much, Penny. I'm going to let you go for the day. Go get another coffee, get back to work, whatever you need to do. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the group. And I look forward to maybe chatting you in maybe 6 months when we hit that 300,000. We'll have another interview and see what's changed.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Penny. Bye-bye. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.